Would you rather score rare finds at gaming conventions or hunt for hidden gems in the wild at flea markets and retro stores? Stay tuned to find out which side wins our heated debate, and make sure to stick around until the end for our final thoughts. It might just change where you'll be hunting next.
Anyway, the next segment that we brought up that we're going to talk about is kind of like a little open forum discussion topic about buying in a retro gaming convention or in a convention environment versus buying out in the wild. And in the wild could be anything: GameStop, retro video game stores, the flea market, garage sales, any of that is game for the quote wild up against convention environments. So with that, I will throw it off first to my boy Neo, Geo, Leo. What do you think?
So this is a lose-lose, win-win situation no matter which direction you go, because the thing about buying in the wild is that you never know what you're going to find, and that's part of the thrill of the hunt. But at the same time, there are times where you just go and go and go and go and go and don't find anything. It's happened to us so many times where we go months at a time to the flea market, and either there will be no games whatsoever, or there will be just the common sports titles that you do not give a darn about.
Hey, that NCAA that looks just like Super Metroid from far away.
I hate that, bro.
Every time you're like, Super Metroid? Super Metroid? Say that Metroid.
For those who don't know, Leo, explain that. Leo, explain for those who don't know.
So, from a distance, if you look at NCAA basketball for the Super Nintendo, it looks almost exactly like Super Metroid.
Looks a lot like this from far away.
So
but
if you're looking at
NCAA and there's a guy dunking a ball.
Yep.
And it looks
you
so
see
close.
You see the logo and you see that it's $5. Like, $5 Super Metroid. I got it. Nope. It's NCAA basketball.
I got you.
Anyways, when you're going to the flea markets, you're a lot more likely to get a deal.
Looks
there
like
you go.
this.
Super Metroid.
Yep.
Let's do a.
Yeah, Isaac, pull it up.
All right. So here's mine. Right, like
from far away, dude. Look at the name.
Ridley is literally like a combination of those guys dunking in the logo. Like it's so
like the color scheme strategy.
They knew what they were doing.
Yeah, they knew what they were doing, bro.
Use some parents out there.
Point is, that's the ups and downs of buying in the wild. Is that oftentimes you don't know where you're going to find, but oftentimes you're also likely to get a better deal because oftentimes when people are just looking to get rid of stuff. There's been instances where when I bought my PS Vita, I bought it for $30 at a yard sale. When Isaac bought his Sega CD, he bought it in the flea market for $15. There was a point where we met up with this dude on Craigslist named John, who we always buy from. He had a Sega Nomad with 12 games for, I believe it was $120. And even then, the going rate for the Sega Nomad at the time would have been $180 by itself. Things like that, where at a retail store, you're not going to get that kind of deal. At the retail store, though, or at a convention setting, you're almost guaranteed to find what you want, but you're going to get it at retail plus prices. So at the very least, around where price charting is at, but sometimes upwards of 20, 25%, oftentimes even double of what it's actually quote-unquote worth. So I'm kind of in this mixed bag territory where you got to know what you're doing and what you're looking for to get the best deals. Thankfully, in our area, there's a couple of stores that are actually very negotiable with prices and already priced at a good level. So I'm decently comfortable just in our local retail setting. But it's hard for me to give a consistent, concise answer as to which I prefer. And with that in mind, I'm going to pass it off to Nick.
So I'm of two minds of this. I think, as Leo mentioned, going in the wild and what some people might consider the wild can be different. But, going to the flea market, going to local game stores, I think those have really high highs when you find something. I remember we used to go to the flea market like at 5 a.m, and I loved that. I remember during some times I would find I bought a $10 Xbox or a $5 PS4 controller or $1 Wiimote. But then, you on most days you go and it's the same sun-faded sports games that you see over and over again, and going to thrift shops, it's the same thing for the most part. You see a lot
Sonic 3. For me, that is the game that I always see sun-faded, and even my copy is sun-faded. For some reason, it's always Sonic 3.
Yeah. And in general, I love those moments because, we're in our local area with each other, going out and finding games, and it's like the thrill of the hunt, and it's more about the experience. I will say I absolutely love conventions. I haven't been to a ton. We've been to Portland, I've been to Sacramento, and we've gone to some of those pretty consistently. But the first time I went to the Portland Retro Gaming Expo, honestly, it felt like Disneyland, dude. Like I know that's a little bit hyperbole, but like I enjoy retro video games so much that like every single retro video game you want is there for the most part. And although most of the time you're gonna purchase it at like the going rate, occasionally, especially those last days, these vendors, they have just so much inventory that they're willing to negotiate. And it just, I don't know, it's just like, for lack of a better term, it's like the Super Bowl of retro video game hunting.
Nick loves negotiating.
I love negotiating. And honestly,
sometimes I'll go on a tangent. Sometimes I want to buy a game or something, or one of the GameBois wants to buy a game, and then Nick could be like, "Hey, let me negotiate for you."
Yeah, I honestly like. I'll why not? Why not? The worst they're going to say is no. But anyway, like, I just love that aspect of it, and I will say I enjoy the conventions a little bit more, but just because especially like going to a convention and there's some games that I've been putting off purchasing. I know like, okay, I've been saving or wanting to save for this particular game. I'm going to buy it at the convention with the guys. There's always eBay. eBay is, I think I used to buy some games on eBay pretty semi-frequently when I really wanted a game, but although, it's instant gratification, you buy it and it shows up a few days later, it's definitely not the same in my opinion. It's not the same as finding it in person. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I think that conventions are my personal favorite, but I do like going to flea markets and local game stores for sure. Chito, what do you think?
Yeah, just touch on that. When we first started off in the flea market and like Craigslist and OfferUp and all that stuff, and you do find great deals, especially back then when it wasn't as bad as it is now. But there's just something like different when you go to like a convention, because you're with people who are like have similar interests with you as you, and like most of the time when I go to a convention, I end up buying stuff that I wasn't even looking for. It could be games, it could be like stickers or those I don't know, people makes like cool keychains, stuff like that, and that's the stuff that I get attracted to the most because I like giving gifts to my siblings. But yeah, the convention is just, there's something different about it. So I don't really mind paying a little extra just because you're going to pay extra. So usually when you go to conventions, I try to save up because I know I'm paying more. But the experience, the time, and just being able to hang out with you guys, it's like, it's worth it to me at least to spend a little more. But yeah, I feel like just going to like even when we're recording at conventions, like I feel like we're not even recording us going to conventions. I feel we're just recording us hanging out.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, I think I prefer conventions over that. I haven't really gone to the shops you guys have gone, or local shops, so I can't really say. Like, I'm sure they have good deals and stuff, or the good games, but I haven't really been to them, so I can't really touch too much on that. But I do enjoy going to conventions. The flea market is dry now. I don't even bother going online anymore on eBay and stuff like that. But yeah, with that being said, who's left? Isaac?
Sure. I'll go now. To touch on what you guys said, the flea market definitely is a barren place. If you're going, especially with a specific list of things you're looking for, you're better off going to a specialty store or just going to the internet. I like going to the flea market still. I'll go, but I find more often than not, I end up just eating and then leaving. I don't end up buying a video game or buying memorabilia of video games that I like.
To those barbecue chicken kebabs.
Yeah, like I end up with a kebab or a churro, or there's like this very good like gorditas truck. That's at one of the flea markets we go to. I like these gorditas there. But the flea market, while it's a fun hunt, like the idea of like I could find something is really, really fun. It's really only a place you should be going with the mindset of being open to finding just about anything. But if you're looking for anything in specificity, you really should go to a specialty shop or a convention. That transitions into why I like conventions more. I am reaching a point in my collecting where the things I want are becoming narrower and narrower in terms of the collections that I go for. And because of that, sometimes I even go to game shops and conventions and don't even find what I was looking for. And it's not even that I'm always looking for the rarest thing. It just happens to be like, for example, yesterday I went to Laughing Crow with our buddy Kyle. Laughing Crow, a really great retro gaming store with a seller who tends to go to these conventions that we go to too. And he had no copies of Bad Fur Day. I'm just looking to upgrade my copy because I don't like the label on mine. And he had 0. And he told me, yeah, if you had hit me up like a week or so ago, I would have had a ton of copies of Bad Fur Day for you and some with pretty clean labels. But, you could even go to these specialty shops. But the point is, you've got way more of a shot of looking for what you're looking for and finding it actually at the specialty shops and at the conventions. And for me, that's worth my time. And not only that, it's become with the conventions that I would rather not go to the flea market all year and know that I get to like plan a trip with you guys. That's what it's become for me, is planning a trip with you guys. It's not even if you've listened to this channel or watched this channel before and you got buddies who are even remotely interested in a convention, even if it's just a local one, drag your friends to a local convention and see how much fun you have. Just do it. Awesome. It's a great time. Go eat afterward. Make plans. If you can get a hotel, get a hotel. It's an experience.
I think another thing to keep in mind too is, I know that Sam's going to speak up on this very soon, so I will keep this quick, but when you go to a convention, it's not just about the convention. It's about the experience around the convention, about like saying, hey, we're in this place that we're not usually at. It's a local place that you're going to convene at. Let's explore the town. Let's eat here. Let's try out this brewery or something like that. Let's go this or that place, and let's just have a great time. Whereas when you're hunting in the wild, in terms of like your average game store or something like that, you're typically not going to go out of your way to go more than like a 45, maybe 1.5 hour radius out of your area. So it's like, it doesn't feel as much of an experience oftentimes outside of the actual buying aspect of it.
Yeah, I would agree, especially with just in general, when you go to the bigger conventions, they're usually a destination. They're usually a city. With the last one we went to was in Los Angeles. We're in California, but Los Angeles is still either a plane ride or a car ride away. Portland, the one we go to often, is either a plane ride or a very, very, very long car ride away. A lot of these are in big ticket cities. So odds are you're going to have to do a trip planning around it. And I'm not saying by any means this is the most, I know I brought up specificity in terms of collecting. This isn't necessarily a budget way to collect. You're going to save a ton more money going to the flea market and maybe even finding things that you didn't necessarily want, and then maybe even flipping or trading up for what you did want. However, if you did want what?
Oh, sorry, you go on first.
Oh, I was just going to say, you're going to find the things that you could build a collection with, but it may not be what you wanted at the flea market. When you go to a convention, you're likely going to find what you wanted. It may cost more. It is going to cost more. Ticket prices, gas, all that, it's going to cost more. But I love the experience.
I was going to say, that's one of the things is, at a flea market, you're pretty much guaranteed to get it cheaper. And this is not necessarily a bonus for the average person. This is just something that kind of applies to us in the sense that we tend to be financially responsible enough that we could set aside money for a convention. That way it kind of, I wouldn't say offsets the cost, but we're prepared for the extra costs of things that are going to be purchased over there. And that's kind of something that we just come to accept. It's not necessarily that we're like, oh, I want to pay full price for this game. It's that we're like, okay, I have it in my budget that I can if it comes down to it.
Yeah,
so,
for
Sam,
us,
what are your thoughts?
For us, it's kind of like what you mentioned. I think it is, you know how people mention it's like instead of buying materialistic things, it's better to experience things. And I think that's kind of what you're touching on there. We're like going to the Portland Retro Gaming Expo, which is like my favorite time of the year because I love going there. I get to hang out with my friends. I get to go explore a city that's cool. I get to eat pizza that I love. my name, Sam. I love pizza. Sizzle Pie. Come on, bro.
Shout out.
Shout out to Sizzle
Tangier. It's a
Pie.
great place. If you guys haven't had it, check it out if you're in the Portland area. But I will say though, I love going to flea markets. But more often than not, I find myself almost a lot of the times either finding stuff I don't care about or settling and being like, oh, this game is $6, but it's a game I'm never going to play ever in my life. And yeah, a bunch of people are like, and other YouTube channels or like other people might buy it to flip it, and like it might be a $20 game or something. But like for me at least, I don't think it's worth my time to flip it because $14 I don't really mind. And yeah, you could argue that like, but I don't go. It's just not worth to me. It's not worth the time to go to a flea market anymore to risk not finding anything if it's by myself. If it's with the guys, it would be fun no matter what. And it just, as we get older, it's kind of harder to find the time for me to be able to go. I see Leo change his name to Sizzle Pie Enthusiast. But that's my opinion on the flea market. But if I can, I would go every single day, and that would be my favorite way to hunt the flea market. But it's just not feasible for me in my moment in my life right now. So I think stores are really fun. Store kind of falls into that in the wild category that we mentioned. Stores are fun, and a lot of stores around us are really great. We're lucky to have that. And I live in the Bay Area specifically, and there isn't that many stores out here, but the ones that are here are really cool. And a lot of times you kind of have to like try to haggle with them to reach price chart, similar to a convention. So, and a lot of the times they're cool. So like, I don't want to haggle. I'll just throw my money at them. And if it's a game that I really wanted to get. So there's that weird dynamic there. But ultimately, for me at least, since I do a lot of the recording, I prefer to record in a store because it's easier. So now recording is an excuse for me to hang out with you guys. So I prefer going to stores because it's just a lot easier to record. There's less environments. Definitely. There's not people trying to think that you're doing something weird with them at the flea market. I'm like, bro,
it's a different experience for sure.
It's a lot different.
There's one thing I forgot to bring up about the flea market specifically that doesn't necessarily apply to you guys, but for me, it's definitely a big factor as to why I don't really like going. It's not that I dislike going there, but that brings it down for me. It's
waking up.
Exactly. I am not a morning person. I have sleeping issues. So oftentimes I'm sleeping for like 3, 4, maybe 5 hours in a night. And flea markets are like 6 a.m., 7 a.m. And obviously with flea markets, the best time to go is right when they open up. So for me, I'm like, no, skip me. Go without me. Back when we relaunched GameBois in 2018, you guys were very heavily focused on the flea market stuff, and I rarely appeared in episodes because like I don't have it in me to just wake up early in the morning and just go right away there and be on camera and like present myself in this very energetic way. I was like, I'll skip out for the most part.
I remember one of the times you showed up in an episode and it was like a whole bit where you actually woke up.
I think you handed me a drink or something
like a big segment that we were awake.
And to be honest, dude, like the way I look at it now is like, do I really want to wake up early and then be in the heat?
Nah, I show up late to the flea, bro.
The thing is, it's just
I'm pulling up at like 10:30.
But even then, it's like the sun's hitting you, and you have to walk all this. Or would you rather go to the store like Fire Nice, you know?
Fire Nice,
which is pretty much a convention in a small convention, AC, and
exactly.
Ryan's like super cool, and you're there. You're there for hours.
Those two letters right there, AC.
Sam touched on I think the nature of the beast too, is conventions or stores too will have games priced accordingly to have a haggle buffer, if you would, Sam. Like, I don't know if you want to go more into detail on like what you meant by that, but like there's just like a buffer, right? Like an invisible number that they're trying to get you to talk to.
Well, yeah, I think stores have a lot more overhead because they need to keep the lights on, they need to keep the AC running, like Leo and Chito mentioned. So, and they can afford. I mean, I don't know how much they can afford to keep games sitting for a little bit longer. But I think a lot of the times, at least some of these games have been sitting there for a long time. They're willing to kind of negotiate with, especially sometimes like the fluctuation in prices. Like they price something at a certain time and like now it's a lot more cheaper or something, which doesn't happen as often. But recently with prices like the Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver game, those like went down in price, like 30-40 bucks or something like that.
My heart.
So like
Emerald went up, no? Emerald went up, those two went down.
Emerald's crazy high,
It's
dude.
expensive, dude.
I don't get it. Is there something that happened with Emerald specifically recently?
It's like it's just like Crystal, where it's just a lot
Yeah.
higher than the other ones because it's cooler.
It's just a better version out of the Ruby and Sapphire.
I think the Battle
Yeah.
Frontier I think that's a big draw because if I'm correct, the remakes don't have the Battle Frontier.
Don't have it.
Nope.
So I
Nope.
think that's a big draw.
They have a statue of the Battle Frontier. When you get to where it would be
That's
at, they have
awesome.
a statue of the Battle Frontier, and they're
Take
like
it out.
coming soon, and they're just like
That's such a
like
slap
the
in the
beta.
face, bro.
It's
Slap
like
in the
DLC.
face.
It's like
Yeah.
it's like day one DLC nowadays.
Something I wanted to mention. I'm not sure if we're still on the topic of in the wild versus at conventions.
Yeah, we are.
But something I think about is, I obviously love going to flea market and supporting local vendors. But one thing I really enjoy about going to game stores and conventions is I'm directly supporting the people who help keep my hobby alive.
that's true.
Because,
Mhm.
a lot of it's hard to keep like a store open that primarily focuses on buying and selling games.
Mhm.
In our local area, we have a good amount of local stores, and I'm hopeful that they'll stick around for a while. But I know it's not easy because to get people interested in video games and video game collecting, obviously they have different means to generate income. But I
Mhm.
enjoy going to those stores and going to conventions because I love the hobby as in general. So directly helping them financially, I like that part as well. So.
I kind
I
of
just
want
love conventions, man. Conventions, you go
Oh,
to
yeah.
conventions and you just feel like the freaking electricity in the air. There's just something about conventions that
Definitely.
To, oof.
like
Everybody's
like
such in
Nick
a good mood.
mentioned. It's like Disneyland. Like I don't know what about it, but like
it's everybody's just happy, dude.
instantly.
Like,
yeah, and just happy.
and
I
that's
can't
I want to
explain
talk
it.
about on another pod.
what's up?
I know.
What?
Sam brought up day one DLC. I think that'd be a good topic one day.
Oh yeah.
Day one DLC. That's not red. That's not
Yeah.
on the Game Boy. It's not retro, guys. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I think that'd be a good topic to talk about. But with
Is there
that, I think
anything,
we've all kind of given our ideas on hunting in the wild versus hunting in the convention. They're both great. It's just completely. It just depends on what you are trying to get out of it.
Yeah, it also
Mhm.
depends on if you're there for the experience or for the purchase. For the experience, cons, easy by far. For the purchases, then it's a lot more of a toss-up. But I'm more of an experienced person in this case, and with that in mind, I think I'd have to go with con.
I just don't want to buy random stuff at this point in
Yeah.
my collecting.
Yeah.
I want to buy what I want, and I want to make trips with you guys.
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
don't want to go to the flea and be like, oh, I hope I find a bunch of consoles I could flip up. I
Yeah.
want to find what I'm looking for. Like,
Yeah, I want to
30.
buy games for fun. I don't want to start a business.
Yeah.
yeah, I'm 30,
way I
dude. I've
think
been
about it.
collecting for like 12 years with you guys now. Like, if there's a game I wanted, I probably got it now. Now it's just the ones I don't have, So,
Yeah,
One topic that we can talk about in the future that's just popped in my head is what kind of got us back into collecting. Obviously, all of us have been, fans of video games for quite a long time, and I think in the future discussing a topic of what got us back into collecting would be a fun topic.
There's technically one answer to that, which we'll save for a future episode, but it's a certain show that we all gravitated
That's
towards.
definitely a big contributor for sure.
I'm a floating head.
yeah, dude. All right, Sam, you want to close this out? Put a ribbon on this bad boy on episode 0 or 1, depending on how good it went.
Yeah, what do you guys in the chat, or I guess not, this is not Twitch, in the YouTube comments think about this? Do you guys prefer conventions? Do y'all prefer retro gaming stores? Do y'all prefer flea markets? Are you just starting out your collection? Do you own every other game already and you're just like in the position where Isaac is, where you only need like a couple more games that you want? So convention is better. Let us know in the comments, and if you have any other suggestions or topics we should cover, let us also know. And if you like this type of content, feel free to subscribe. And if you hate us, then comment and tell me that I suck specifically. I'll take all the hate. I do not mind the hate. But also, thank you guys for watching. That's all. And
Thanks, guys.
Follow us on YouTube.
Later.
Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Instagram. Did I just say Instagram? YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, MySpace,
TikTok.
freaking LinkedIn, TikTok.
TikTok.
It's anything you're on. Just search up at GameBois TV and follow us if we have anything.
Google Plus.
Yeah, hit
Yahoo
us up
Mail.
on Google Plus, Yahoo Mail. Drop us an
Crunchyroll.
email. Add us on Netflix if that's
Send
a
us
thing.
a letter by the USPS.
Yeah, but thank you guys for watching.
Thanks, guys.
Woo!
All right, nice hanging out with y'all.